We've got quite a few grants for the coaching team at Corey, so that was really nice. The Strong Workforce Program grant, that's going to help elevate our passion programs through all of our school sites. So I was happy to see that come through, and I want to thank everybody that's been writing these grants because this is the most grants I've seen in our district in a long time. And it's just because of the effort and the staff and personnel that we have to be able to take time and write these grants out for our district. So thank you to everybody that's taking the time to write these grants out because it's benefiting our entire district. So thank you for that. And also a big thanks to our community partners that have collaborated with us throughout the whole summer. The Boys and Girls Club, I was out there at Knott's Berry Farm with them over the weekend to enjoy their last picnic or last week of the summer for them. So that was really nice. Thank you to Mr. and Mrs. Simpson from Buick for the generous donations for the backpack giveaway that we had over the weekend. I know the kids were happy to drive by with their parents and get a backpack stuffed with goodies. So that was really neat to see. And overall, I want to thank our entire district staff and leadership for their hard work over the summer for the preparation for the upcoming 21-22 school year. So I'm excited to see the kids back in the classroom. I'm excited to walk the school sites with students there. So I'm just excited. So, but that concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Frutos. Ms. Castaneda.
Hi, I hope everyone's having a good afternoon. I first and foremost want to congrats Dr. Ramon Miramontes for being named the 2021 Superintendent of the Year by the California Association of Latino Superintendents and Administrators. So congratulations, that's a big honor and step, and congratulations. And I also want to say that I also toured the schools with the superintendent, and it's just amazing to see the improvements that have been done to all of our schools. And one that was like a really big change was the middle school. So compared to still working. Hello?
Yeah.
Can you hear me? Yeah. Sorry, I think I broke the speakers.
She dropped the mic.
Sorry. Yeah, just the middle school was just such a huge change for me to see. I went there, for my junior high years, and just to see the buildings not be there anymore. It's a little heartbreaking, but you know what? It looks amazing already. Just the space, it's big. I can't wait to just see the new improvements that are going to go on there. It looks amazing. All of our schools are looking really amazing, and so the improvements are exciting. I also want to thank the Simpson dealer for providing and hosting backpacks to all of our TK and third graders in our schools. That was amazing. I was there. I drove by. I saw the principals. My kids got to see their new principal. They were excited. They received their backpacks, and so that was really great for them to do for our students and for our community. It meant a lot. So I thank them too. So that's it for me.
Thank you. It's good to be back. I missed everyone, and I think thinking about the next week coming up and just excitement seeing everyone here in person is exactly what the students are going to feel and the teachers are going to feel this upcoming week. I think being away a year and a half And then now seeing people face to face, you have the awkward, do I hug or not hug? Do the elbows or not elbows? But it's very endearing to know that everyone's really excited to be back. So I just hope that everyone in community, staff, everyone understands that we still need to practice safety. There's going to be probably a lot of things coming our way that we don't know, but we will hopefully practice flexibility and then hopefully have the energy that we all feel now and keep that to sustain us. I usually like to have a keyword for like my school year, my center. And I think for me, not just because I came from Hawaii back, but I think ohana is a great word. If you don't know what that means, it means family. And so I think all sites, all departments, all groups, hopefully can keep that in mind as we are one family in the Buena Park School District. And so with that comes the good, the bad, the ugly, like all families do. And there's gonna be things that we like and dislike about each other or a decision is made, but what families always do is stick together and come back to the end for our North Star, which is for the good of everyone. So I hope that key theme can be resonated throughout the year for people. That's going to be mine at least. I also want to again congratulate Dr. Miramontes for the CALSA Superintendent of the Year, as Ms. Kestner mentioned. You know, as we get a chance to become president once, you get to interact with the superintendent a little differently. And the constant thoughts and energy he puts into what our kids need, our community needs, our staff needs, the well-being is very evident on a day-to-day basis, but for him to get recognized about it is just one small token understanding of what he does. But I think we all understand how great he's been leading us through an unprecedented times. And I really think is a truly deserved reward. More, that's hopefully more to come. CSBA next, whatever it is out there, people listening, make sure you vote if there is one to vote. And so I want to share that. And then lastly, I know that there's a management retreat coming up this week, and the superintendent mentioned that one of the themes is about multipliers. And I think that's great because as we move forward as a direction, having teacher leaders, having classified, having management, admins all together on the decision and the direction is very important. So I appreciate that focus coming back, being away for so long, that we all, again, as Ohana, go forward and make this a great year. So that is it for me. Moving on to superintendent comment, Dr. Miramontes.
Thank you, Board President Chung. First of all, I want to welcome everybody back. I'm looking forward to starting next week, August 17th. I've been out at school sites. Everybody's super excited, right? We have our safety precautions in place. Our reopening plans have been shared with our principals and the newest guidelines as well. And we keep them abreast of anything that changes, and it changes on a weekly basis. So for the last couple of weeks, it's been stable. Knock on wood. Hopefully, we continue with that. So those same guidelines from the California Department of Public Health. I also want to just sort of thank David, not sort of, but I do want to thank all the families that came out. Hundreds of families drove out to Simpson Buick and GMC dealership to pick up backpacks full of goodies, school supplies, water bottles. I want to thank the staff members that were there from each school site, coordinated by Dr. Simonovsky. And the staff from GMC, from the dealership as well. David and Debbie Simpson were out there. I mean, David was directing traffic. This is the owner of the dealership. And his wife was actually checking off names, and their daughter was involved. So it was a great first-time partnership. Over 3,000 backpacks we have. We're going to get those out to every student, TK through third grade. And they'll get them out before but again, just a wonderful partnership that we've created, and it just came out in April. I took Dr. Simonovsky with me and went through some of the details, and she ran with it. And I appreciate the staff coming out and working with the dealership there. I do look forward to the leadership retreat tomorrow. This is something I've been wanting to do since I've been the superintendent. Right, last year we couldn't do it because of COVID. Absolutely. We will be listening to Dr. Cruz, who will be sharing the message. Reaching all means all through shared. Reaching all means, I typed it wrong. Reaching all means all through shared leadership. So over 70 key staff members will be there, classified, certificated, and management to multiply our efforts on the great things that we're doing already. This is my leadership team here. It's not a very big team. We need others, and we've got incredible staff members all across the district in different ranks. So we're looking forward to that. The board is welcome to stop by anytime. I know that Erin has sent out an email inviting you just to let her know so we don't have 4 of you come at one time. But we look forward to that day tomorrow. I do want to thank everybody for the emails, the kind words, just the affirmation regarding the CALSA award. Parents, staff members, and colleagues through Facebook, social media, emails that I've received here. Aaron has received some phone calls, just congratulating me. I can't tell you that, I can take credit. It's the people that are sitting here, the people in the classrooms, the classified staff members, our nutritional service staff, every single one of our employees needs to be recognized and honored as well. So again, tomorrow night, the city council, and I guess I'm the face for the district, but know that tomorrow night when I receive that recognition from the city, it's not about me, it's about the Buena Park School District and the wonderful things we're doing in this district. And it starts with every single one of our employees. So I look forward to that tomorrow night with them. And with that, I want to thank all the staff members, again, that have been preparing to open up schools for the last couple of months. I know I've seen teachers on campuses already. I know our secretaries are ready to roll, and we look forward to receiving all our students on Tuesday. So that concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you. Programs and reports, facilities modernization update, Dr. Miramontes.
Yeah, first of all, I do want to thank the board members that went out to the sites to see it, because there's one thing that we presented to you, but I thought, Aaron, we should probably get these board members out and about. So we coordinated some times that were good for everyone, and pictures are worth 1,000 words, but the awe in your guys' faces as we walked on those campus. Mrs. Castaneda said, "Oh my gosh, I went to this school just 4 years ago or 5 years ago, right? Buena Park Middle School." She was in awe when she saw how large the campus was, how inviting it is. And that's just the first step. We still have, as the board has provided the direction for outdoor learning spaces, that's our next step, right? So that's our next project. We had to clear some of these things out here. With that being said, I'll turn it over to Tim Spencer, Mike Magbu from TeleQ and our district office.
Good evening, Mr. President, governing board members, Dr. Miramontes. We're going to give you the HB program, mainly focused on all the jobs that we've actually finished and completed or expected to complete really soon, and just some little updates on some future projects.
Thank you, Mike. And we guys, if you don't mind going to the next slide, please. A little snapshot of what we're going to talk about today is really, like we mentioned, a lot went on this summer. And it's hard to even believe that summer is almost over. So right now the projects are wrapping up and the final touches are being put on. So I can update you on where we're at with those. And also the status of the playground, the Beatty locker, where we're at with all the projects that Dr. Miramontes briefly mentioned right now, the next steps that we're moving forward on different sites. And then some of the district staff, the projects that they completed. They did a lot of work this summer, in addition to the bond measure. So we'd like to just update you on where we're at on that as well. Next slide, please. So the Buena Park Middle School, the demo of the obsolete buildings, there's been a lot of conversation already about that on where we're at with removing those 3 obsolete buildings. That space is huge. Again, the pictures don't really describe what's going on right there, but the demo's been completed. And currently right now we're delivering materials to put decomposed granite down. That decomposed granite is that really hard dirt. It's compacted almost like concrete. It's a temporary patch for the future outdoor learning space that we'll be planning for in that area. So if you can envision that whole courtyard that's surrounded by the lunch shelters, the library, the classrooms, that whole rectangular area is going to be the new outdoor learning space. That currently right now the architect is working on that design, and we'll have continual updates to the board as those designs get processed. Next slide, please. The fencing project of the church, the posts have been installed. The gates have been delivered, and currently right now, this morning, they started working on one section of fence posts that had to be hand dug, and they'll be putting on the fence panels here the end of this week and wrapping that project up. There's a small chance you might have some temporary fence for the first day of school, but it'll be an area on the back side of the church's property. And again, that will be completed before school starts, with the exception of a little area that has some special welding and powder coating that we have to do. That will not impact school operations at all. Next slide, please. The asphalt paving at the junior high, so in a nutshell, that's going to be wrapped up by the 10th. So tomorrow they're pouring some areas, putting some slurry seal and some striping at the end of the day. They're gonna work a long day tomorrow. That way they only close off that front parking lot of the junior high, or sorry, the middle school habit. They'll be closing out that front parking lot just for one day to slurry seal and stripe it. So that'll be wrapped up tomorrow as well. And the back portion of the middle school, where the food service area is, that's been completed, but they're waiting to stripe that at the same time that they do that tomorrow. Next slide, please. So the playground status, Emory's been completed, and I believe everyone has seen Emory, the basis of design that we're going to roll out to every single playground. So that's in the process. Right now, Teleco is working with the manufacturer Miracle, who is working on putting together all the design to reutilizing some of the structural posts that are on the playgrounds, and then the apparatuses that can fit around the current installed structural posts. So the design process is a little bit longer with Miracle because they don't have a blank slate to be able to put whatever apparatuses they want in whatever area. They have to work around the structural integrity that we have out there right now. So they're currently working on that. Our team is, getting all the data that they need. They've been requesting a lot of measurements and clarifications that we've been getting to them, and they're in that process. Our goal is to bid that project in November, to start construction early January, and we'll roll out one school at a time, and we're going to close off one playground at a time that we have the least impact on the students. We don't want to go through and just demo everything out at one time. In the event that something should happen, we want to make sure that the impact of that is minimal to each kid, and that the play areas are open as long as possible for each student. So we'll be working on more details when the exact material gets delivered. Another reason we're looking at rolling those out one playground at a time is the manufacturer doesn't have to make and deliver everything at once. You can deliver them in increments as each school goes on. Next slide, please. Again, there's a little snapshot of our schedule, what we're looking at doing, in a picture of the Emory School that you see. That's going to be the basis of design that we will do at all the playgrounds. Next slide, please. Beatty Locker. This project is moving forward. TLS Choices is preparing a bid schedule for the final GMP that the board will see in a future date. And that process right now, where they stand, is they have all the documents out to the bidders, and they receive those documents on Thursday, and they're preparing the bid package to send to the district to review the details of each sub that's going to be used on the job. And we anticipate having that by next Wednesday available for the district to review the details of each line item of the entire project. So as mentioned before, the final DSA approved drawings did add additional scope to the project, which includes some fire hydrant upgrades to the site, not just this project, but throughout the site. Also some fire alarm upgrades, and then some hillside retaining along the culvert that was behind the park, because that culvert does have potential in the future to carry the 100-year stormwater that the building and then the surrounding area on the backside of the school needs to be upgraded to be able to accommodate that. So that added scope was roughly about $1 million. We've asked the contractor to break out that scope into a separate line item. That way the board can kind of see what those items were that the fire authority and DSA did require on the project. So that'll be updated as soon as we get the numbers from the subs themselves. We're currently working right now as a design team, the architect and Teleco and the contractor, on some ways to minimize that cost. We already have some great ideas on the fire water, particularly on where to access that fire water. Our goal would be to not tie into the street and minimize some costs by not having to pull permits, some encroachment permits, redoing some drive approaches, and upgrading the street by the, sorry, I'm drawing a blank on the name of the street, but that goes behind the school in front of the park on that street. So there's a ton of upgrades that are required there for the fire water. We're looking at tying into a site, to a line on site that would minimize some of those costs. So we're looking at all options available to have that impact be as minimal as possible.
Tim, can you
Yes.
elaborate a little bit? I spoke to the board about the parking lot in front of the school.
Oh,
and
yeah.
Some of the additional requirements from DSA regarding the handicap. Can you elaborate on that?
Yeah.
No, that's not included in there, but that we know we're gonna have to pick up as well.
Correct. Yeah. Thanks, Mr. Morantes. We appreciate that. So the long-term master plan included some upgrades for parking. And part of this project, DSA is requiring us, part of that dollar figure I mentioned, is requiring some upgrades to the handicap parking stalls to meet current code. So we didn't want to spend a little bit of money now, knowing that the long-term plan was to upgrade that parking lot. We're looking at incorporating that project that was planned for, I was going to say 2-3 years from now. That was part of the next issuance. We're looking at doing that project in this issuance. It would utilize just the scope of work, the cost being that the same contractor that's doing the Beatty project can do that work. So we can minimize the project cost for the parking lot and not have to spend money twice. And we don't like doing that. We don't want to spend a little bit of money now on upgrading the handicap parking and then tear it all out in a couple of years and redo it. So we're treating that as a separate project, even though it really is the same project because we're gonna be doing it at the same time as the locker room. But we're kind of keeping those as 2 separate line items in our budgets and our scope of work. So that was the purpose of that. So thank you, Dr. Hermantes, for reminding me. Yeah, so when I say that we have some added DSA scope, those are some of the things that we're looking at, is to minimize that cost by moving a project up earlier in the schedule by saving money. Next slide, please. So here's our big picture for the next 2 years of where we're at. I know it's kind of hard to see on the screen, but basically just want to give you guys an idea of the things that we're planning towards for next summer. Again, this summer is long gone. It's over. Kids start pretty soon. They start the 17th. So we're planning for the construction that's taking place next summer. And part of that includes the MPRs. We have 4 elementary schools that we're rushing to get into DSA and approved. That we can start that construction next summer. Corey and Emory, we've completed what we call the schematic design, which was basically the napkin sketch, you could say, of what we want to do. And we moved into design development, which puts details into the drawings. And that process right now with design development, the architect is due to give that to us. Studio W, we have a meeting with them next Friday, the 20th, to review the design development, which will move us into construction documents and submit to DSA. Then the other 2 schools, Gilbert and Whitaker, we're in the process where we just started the schematic. Those 2 schools, the design's a couple weeks behind. We're hoping to have that schematic design done around the same time that we have the design development for Corey and Emory. And we'll move right into submitting those to DSA, and that work would start right when school gets out next summer. So again, as we think about this summer coming to an end, we're already planning for what we need to do next year. And with that is also the Pendleton admin. We're working right now to move that up as early as possible in the schedule to make sure that that project, the soft costs align with the anticipated state matching money that we're getting in. So we're going to allocate the soft costs from the bond measure to be able to pay for that. So our plan is to get that one started next summer as well for the Pendleton admin, which the Pendleton admin project also includes the Pendleton MPR. Since they're tied into one building, we're treating that as one project. So that's why when you look at the NPR project, there's only 4 schools. The Pendleton one's separate as part of the admin organization. So any questions on the timeline? So regarding the bond projects, we could actually, if you can move to the next slide, please. That's really where we're at for the summer projects. I'd like to turn it over to Mike Magbu to talk about all the work that the district staff has done this summer as well, in addition to the Measure B projects.
Thank you, Tim. FMOT had 88 projects going on since the start of summer, and they've completed almost all of them. The ones that are underlined are the ones we're still waiting on, or they're in progress right now. Next slide, please. So there are the bottle fill stations. They're starting. We've already finished Whitaker, and we are working on the Winter Park Middle School. It'll go to the Beatty Middle School. And then as we go through the list, it'll start at Emory, Gilbert, Pendleton, and then Corey. We'll pick up the rest of it. So it's about 2 weeks per site. And so that's what we're going to be working through. The contractor will be working around the schedule and minimizing the amount of impact to the students in the classes so that nothing's happening during the core time. Right. The asphalt at Gilbert, it takes a little while for it to cure because we had to do a subsoil stabilization. So that project will get striped and sealed in about 20 days. All right. When we take a look at the Corey MPR, it's all going to be completed and water tested already, but before by the end of this week. But because of resources, the backordered resources and materials, The white coating will not happen for a couple, 2 to 3 weeks after project, but that will happen on a weekend. But 88 projects by our team. I want to shout out to the FMOT management and the classified staff there. They really did a lot of hard work getting those projects in and out, moving teachers, moving classrooms around, getting new classrooms upgraded, and very much just did a lot of good work out there with the limited time and some short staff at times too. And I also would like to thank our technology management team and the staff there. They have really done a lot of good work getting the iPads ready. And we are hoping to have all 3rd grade all the way up to 8th grade completely ready and staged so students can pick them up first day of school without having to worry about downloading all the apps and everything. And then we have a timeline for the rest of the iPads. So by the end of the 2nd week, all the iPads down to preschool will be ready to go. So that concludes our report.
Any questions for the gentleman?
I just want to ask about the Gilbert project. How is that going to affect first week or 2 of school, since it needs, I mean, that's really the front for the asphalt?
The asphalt will be ready, okay to drive on. There's no lines, that's all. There's no
Okay.
painting.
Oh, okay.
We have to wait for the painting to cure,
Okay, that's good. So at least.
or
it'll
the
block
asphalt
that
to
in.
cure before we lay the paint down.
So we'll work with Mrs. Ramirez, the principal there, to make sure we have cones laid out.
Yeah.
And there's proper places for people to park and what we need to do, even if we've got to go out and chalk it for the first week or so. We've got, we've got those things in place already.
And then just my question for the playgrounds. I know that was originally supposed to be done, this summer, but it was pushed till January. Are we expecting a month maybe to have the playground closed, or more or less?
We are expecting or anticipating 3 weeks to a month, 3 to 4 weeks, basically. That's the
Okay.
timeline that the vendor said they can get it in and turned around. Our obstacle for the playgrounds is materials, backorder materials. Really, that's the major obstacle, and that's really what's pushing a lot of our timelines.
And then we'll have to work around the rain.
Yeah.
Yes, we need rain for sure,
Yeah.
but we'll be able to work around any other of those conditions that come through.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on to action calendar. Interdistrict transfer request 2122 BRHUK. It is recommended the governing board uphold the denial of the transfer. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Frutos. Thank you, Ms. Ahmad. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes 5-0. Interdistrict transfer request 2122 CARO3. It is recommended that the governing board uphold the denial of the interdistrict transfer request. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Thank you, Ms.
I'll
Shad.
second.
Thank you, Ms. Castaneda. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes 5-0. Interdistrict transfer request 2122 CAROK. It is recommended that governing board uphold the denial of interdistrict transfer requests. Do I have a motion?
I'll make motion.
Thank you,
I'll
Ms. Ahmad.
second.
Thank you, Ms. Castaneda. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes 5-0. Approval and adoption of revised governing board policy 6158, independent study. Dr. Miramontes.
Yeah, so the independent study policy was authorized in mid-July and effective immediately. The expectation was for districts and boards to update their board policies should they offer independent study. To talk a little bit more about this, Dr. Cantu, our Chief Academic Officer.
Good evening. We'd like to remind you, as Dr. Ramon Miramontes said, the law was just signed July 16th, but is to take place immediately. So that's why we're acting quickly to make sure that by the first day of school, we have a new board policy that reflects AB 130. And AB 130 takes a position where we're going with traditional independent studies and kind of morphing it with distance learning. So there's teachers and our parents do have an option if they're choosing not to send their students back to school. The board policy has been updated and it requires that for 1 year, 2021-22 school year, to offer independent study to meet the educational needs of students unless a waiver is obtained to adopt this policy with specific components in order to generate enough time for students to have independent study at the beginning of this year. Policy updates the minimum period of time permitted for independent study to be 3 consecutive school days. Also, the policy states that students must have satisfactory educational programs that rely on standard-based instruction similar to traditional schools. It also must be in aligned with some synchronous or contact time with staff members. The policy also is updated to include the requirements for this live instruction based on grade level expectations as outlined in AB 130. Students also must have an opportunity to meet with their teacher in person for a conference or their parents to have a conference when required or requested. We must keep documentation of student participation in live synchronous instruction or interaction with adults. We must also make sure, and this board policy has been updated to ensure that records are being kept for attendance. Records are being kept to make sure that the instruction meets standard-based qualities. We also have updated the policy where there are some requirements that were in the past in the AR are now in the policy itself, such as keeping records, notifying parents quickly and timely of any change, and also making sure that we monitor student progress and make recommendations for them to stay in independent studies or to return to a traditional setting if it meets the student's needs. Again, the policy must be in place by the first day of school. And also the policy was updated to make sure that our students have an agreement that is notified to parents and can be signed by parents digitally. So every parent will be notified of the criteria for independent studies, and all of our families will be notified of the option for independent studies. Are there any questions?
So I just, really, there was no difference to how our program was working last year. It just now we maybe have to notify parents more. Is there going to be any change to how we were running the academy?
For us, no. What we want to make sure is that parents do understand the difference between in-person learning and independent studies, and how it is also different from maybe how we ran
Yeah.
distance learning.
Distance learning, yeah.
So there is still much to be done at home with parent support. They will have materials that are aligned with classroom materials. They will have standard-based instruction aligned with in-person instruction. But it will take parents' support to make sure that the students complete the work. They will have 2 different types of contact with staff: synchronous instruction, as well as wellness contact, which is what we tried to do on our own without
our
having
own,
a
yeah,
well last year. Mhm.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions? We're seeking approval from the board to pass this policy. And again, our typical format is that we bring it for discussion, and then 2 weeks later, we bring it on the consent calendar. But because it came so quickly and we have to have this, we've got about just under 60 students in our in the all program. We want to make sure we had this policy in place prior to that.
Question, is there a motion to approve the independent study board policy? 617?
Motion.
Thank you, Mr. Frutos.
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Shedd. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes 5-0. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Moving on to E, approval of Coatson Strategic Opportunity Grant. Dr. Miramontes.
Yeah, the grant will pay the salaries of 3 full-time teachers to serve as mentors for 18 fellows who will be compensated for PD and other materials, improving their professional growth in the areas of mathematics and ELA. So we asked the board to approve the Coatson. This will round out all 5 schools in the last 3 years.
I'll make a motion.
Thank you, Ms. Amaya. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Ms. Castaneda. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes 5-0. Approval of strong workforce program, SWP K-12 Pathway and Improvement Grant. Dr. Miramontes.
Yeah, the district was awarded $18,000. This is the third year, the last year of this grant, and it's for career, based on career technical education. Once approved from the board, the grant will elevate our passion programs and provide training to increase the level of competency in the area of community partnerships as well.
And a couple before COVID, I was in a Zoom and I saw Dr. Cantu come up and share. It's like there's local districts that are kind of involved in this process. And she did a fabulous job promoting what our district has done already. So there aren't many districts involved in it, but she was our lead, and her and the team to create the CTE connections was awesome. So I want to give kudos to the team, but it's good. I mean, not many people are doing it K-8, and our team has been
And
doing
she's
great.
been asked to be part of the executive or the leading members of that committee as well. So congratulations, Dr.
Yes.
Cantu.
Nice, congratulations.
So it's great to see a familiar face on Zoom. So I'm with you. Do I have a motion to approve?
Motion.
Thank you, Ms.
Second.
Bruno. Thank you, Ms. Shed. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion passes 5-0. Approval of Bonaparte Middle School and Beatty Middle School's 2021 overnighter at Poly Institute. Dr. Miramontes.
It's the Poly Institute we talked about, science and outdoor education for students at both middle schools.
I'll make a motion.
Thank you, Ms. Amaya. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Ms. Shed. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, motion passes 5-0. Fingers crossed. Hopefully they still get to work at that time. Approval of extension of contract for FY 2020-2021 CSU Fullerton Auxiliary Services Corporation, use of funds through December 31st, 2021. Dr. Miramontes.
Yeah, the California Department of Education realized that not all schools were able to use the ACES funds after school. And so they're allowing districts that did not use those funds because they had to close down at times to extend that through December 31st of 2021.
Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Thank you, Mr. Fritos.
I'll second.
Thank you, Ms. Ahmad. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0. Approval to accept the school-based healthcare solutions network COVID-19 student support recovery grant. Dr. Miramontes.
Yeah, I'd like to thank Dr. Simonovsky for her efforts to write and be awarded a grant in the amount of $1.6 million in-kind services that will provide transitional coaches or social workers for 5 of the 7 schools in our district for the next 5 years. So congratulations, Dr. Simonovsky. That's going to be huge for our families and our community. We ask the board to approve this, and we'll be bringing forward the other information, the contract at a later time.
This is like our second one, right? Like score, like 2-0. Dr. Simonovsky in the lead. Do you have a motion to approve?
I'll
Motion.
I'll second.
I heard Mr. Fritos first
I'll do that.
and second by Ms. Castaneda or?
Yeah, yeah.
Ms. Amaya?
Larry
Ms.
second.
Castaneda, second. Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes 5-0. Annual declaration of need for fully qualified educators for the 2021-2022 school year. Dr. Miramontes.
Yeah, the district is required to file with the California Commission on Teaching Credentialing an annual resolution to certify that reasonable efforts to recruit fully prepared teachers for assignments was made. So we ask the board to approve the resolution.
Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
Thank you, Ms. Ahmad. There's a tie. I don't know who we got. I think I heard Ms. Shed first. Sorry, Ms. Castaneda. Thank you. Ms. Shed, second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion passes 5-0. So everyone's so eager tonight. I love it. First time back. I think everyone's just like excited, ready to pull the trigger. Let's go. Anybody else want to put anything else on you to approve? Permission to solicit bids for playground equipment installation, surface padding, and turf at elementary schools. Dr. Miramontes.
Yeah, the installation district purchased elementary upper playground equipment. We're ready to do so. The board's already approved the materials. We're just waiting to approve a procurement for the installation of service of the padding and the procurement and installation of the artificial turf as our model at Emory School.
Do I have a motion?
I'll motion.
Thank you, Ms. Castaneda. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Ms. Shed. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion passes 5-0. And approval of change order to bid number 21-02 Adco Roofing Inc. Dr. Miramontes.
Yeah, there was a change order at Corey School. Both Corey and Emory schools had their roofs redone this past summer. but you never know until you pull up the roof, what the roof's gonna look like. So basically, this change order is the plywood decking at Quarry School that needed to be replaced. So the change order is in the amount of $10,240. We asked the board to approve this change order.
I'll make a motion.
Thank you, Ms. Ahmad. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Ms. Shed. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. The motion passes 5-0. That concludes that. We'll move on to discussion calendar, board policy adoption, review, revision, deletion, BP 131.12.2 uniform complaint procedures and AR 1312.2 uniform complaint procedures. Dr. Miramonte?
Yeah, we're only going to discuss the board policy. And again, we're running through the federal program monitoring coming up here. We were very fortunate that we drew the short straw. Many schools get to are reviewed throughout the year. We're reviewing the first week of September. So some of our policies that we have to update, we got to make sure they're updated and in compliance with. So here to take place of Mr. Harrison is Dr. Simonowski. Will talk about the board policy uniform complaint procedure.
Good evening, Board President Chong, Clerk Mr. Frutos, members of the Board of Education, Superintendent Dr. Miramontes, Executive Cabinet and guests. My name is Dr. Elsie Simonowski, and I'm the Director of Student Community Services. On behalf of Chief Personnel Officer, Mr. Russell Harrison, I would like to highlight the following uniform complaint procedure board policy updates for your review on the regulation of the UCP for Buena Park School District. So some of the highlights that you'll see have been the yellow highlights and the strike-throughs. I want to highlight 5 of the core components of the program for your review tonight. So the first one is on the list of programs and activities that are subject to the UCP have been amended to include the programs and activities listed in our upcoming FPM instrument, which our district is currently going through with our Division of Educational Services. Our second one is a list of actual or perceived characteristics for which discrimination, harassment, intimidation, or bullying in district programs and activities is prohibited and has been expanded. So I want to highlight for you this evening that the law requires us to include the characteristics that were added, such as immigration status, and the second one, excuse me, genetic information. And so genetic information is a genetic test of an individual's family members, and to basically highlight any type of a disease or a classification of a disorder. So like, for example, family medical history. Number 3, the list of types of complaints that are not subject to UCP has actually been expanded to ensure appropriate filing and timely resolution of the complaint. So in this case, 30 days. The compliance officer in this for us is no longer the superintendent. And the reasoning behind this is so that the superintendent can serve as another level of support to the compliance officer and can assign the case to another district staff if the complaint is filed against a compliance officer, him or herself. Our 5th one, with the amendment to the sections of the California Code of Regulations regarding the UCP in 2020, the following are a few of the changes. The first one was changes the quote written decision to a quote investigation report. The second one is a timeline for filing an appeal to the California Department of Education has been changed from 15 calendar days to 30 calendar days. 3, the basis to which an appeal may be filed within the CDE has been expanded. So for example, a lack of evidence, inconsistency with the law, or if the district had failed to follow its complaint procedures. So these are some of the reasons that have also been expanded. And then the last one is now requires the district to submit specified documents to the CDE within 10 days after the district has been notified that an appeal has been filed. So the district's failure to provide a timely and complete response may result in the CDE ruling on the appeal without considering our information from the district. So I just want to take a moment to thank Mr. Harrison for the advisory on these updates and also S4 for their support on the legal compliance to also ensure accountability to our community and also for the UCP filings.
Thank you. Any questions regarding the uniform complaint procedure? Thank you.
Right. Moving on to consent calendar, unless a trustee has a question concerning a particular item and asks that it be withdrawn, From the consent calendar, the items are approved at one time by the governing board. Ms. Ahmad?
I have nothing.
Ms. Sher?
I have nothing.
Mr. Frutos?
I have nothing.
Ms. Castaneda?
I have nothing.
I have nothing as well. Do I have a motion to approve the consent calendar?
Motion.
Thank you, Mr. Frutos. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Ms. Ahmad. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion passes 5-0. Okay, information and correspondence, major topics 2021, 2022. Dr. Miramontes.
Yes, on August 23rd, we will provide a personal services snapshot, staffing snapshot for the board. We also have the district programs overview of the MTSS and the district student, and we'll also be sharing the district student events. I know I've shared that with the foundation. They're excited about some of the events that are going to occur. We're going to work together to promote those. And then also Sandy Poteet and staff will be providing the 45-day budget update on the 23rd of August.
All right, moving on to closed session. Conferences with Ramon Miramontes, Superintendent of the Buena Park School District, Labor Relations, Buena Park Teacher Association, Labor Relations, California School Employee Association, Chapter 569, Labor Relations, Non-Represented Management and Confidential Contract Employees, Public Employee Discipline, Dismissal, Release, Conference with Dr. Edward Wong, Facilitator, Public Employee Performance Evaluation of Superintendent. Do I have a motion to go into closed session?
Motion.
I'll second.
Thank you, Mr. Frutos. Thank you, Ms. Castaneda. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, motion passes 5-0. Governing board meeting is called to closed session at 5:51 PM. Thank you, everyone.
Ciao, everyone.